Hello and welcome to yet another podcast with the Carbon Circle. So today with us we have Mr. Stanislav, who's the CEO of GMK Center. He's joining us from Ukraine. Today we have the topic that we're going to cover is CBAM 2026 as the CBAM enters the definitive phase. And in this very podcast, we look at India's green steel challenge beyond the hype. We'll look at reimagining global trade through carbon, the CBAM revolution as it is called. So in this entire podcast, we'll try touching upon a wide range of topics, which primarily focuses on CBAM. That is why CBAM is important and why it matters for India. We'll look at why data is so crucial when it comes to CBAM. The third topic that we cover is economics and this SME vulnerability crisis, why size matters enormously, because the large companies are now managing to navigate the CBAM requirements, while the smaller, the MSMEs, the SMEs are finding it extremely difficult. So why size matters. The last topic that we'll cover today is beyond India, the global CBAM, future of carbon markets, and the consulting opportunities there. So it's going to be a very intense deep dive conversation, and CBAM, given that it is in the definitive phase, it is even more important that we have this conversation at the start of 2026. So Stanislav, welcome to the Carbon Circle podcast. It's a privilege to have you.
Thank you, Roshan, for inviting me. Thank you. Very nice to be here.
Likewise. So let's kick off with the first question, Stanislav. So let's start with the journey. You published your first CBAM study in August 2020. That was over 5 years ago. Most people, including myself, had no idea that CBAM was coming. So what drove you into this topic when it was still relatively obscure?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So first, I think I try to remember because it's a long time ago. So that first discussion about
Okay.
CBAM, first time that I heard this abbreviature was in fall of 2019. It was a steel market leaders conference in Milan, which was organized by GMK Center and World Steel Dynamics. So it was many leaders there, and it was main discussion, of course, about investment, about market, about future. But a small part of discussion was about ETS impact. It was start of third phases of ETS and future of CBAM as a part of ETS system that need to be implemented to prevent a carbon leakage. So first time I think I took a part in discussion, yeah. So about CBAM in autumn 2019, and it why it started to be important from me from first day, because European steel market was always very important for Ukraine. Ukraine produced before war 23 million tons of steel, and around 7 million tons of steel and steel products we exported to Europe. That's why we started from 2020, we started research about possible scenario how CBAM could affect Ukrainian steel export. Also, we start to take a part in expert discussion with European think tanks, with European experts about. And really problem was that nobody knew how it will be organized, CBAM. Yeah. But even then, I saw firstly, teams that developed and designed CBAM in Brussels had a very poor understanding of market mechanism.
Right.
They was very good in carbon markets, in carbon policy, in climate policy, but CBAM, it's not about climate. CBAM right now and 5 years ago, it was about trade. Yeah, it was about costs. So secondly, even now, many people who provide this policy in Brussels don't fully understand the various consequences of CBAM implementation. But really, everybody's saying, every market participants, policymakers, that it's fully new mechanism, fully new instrument, and nobody know how it will affect market at the end of the day. And
Right.
in any case, in any case, it was immediately in 2020 from first study clear to me that it would act as a trade and technical barrier, as a trade restrictions, and
Mm.
have no direct bearing on climate policy or fight against climate change.
Right, right. So the paper that you put out in 2020, was it related to the same problems or the barriers that it likely face?
Yeah, it was paper about different scenario, how this instrument can be implemented and
Hmm.
how it will affect European steel market and Ukrainian export to this market. Yeah, it was minimum. I remember it was three scenario because it was discussion how can be implemented. But as I told you, my main scenario was that it will work like trade restriction, and we see that it worked like trade restriction.
Right.
So it's not working like any climate instrument. It's work really like a technical barrier.
Right. I mean, it's very interesting when you put it that way, that somebody sitting in Brussels puts out a policy without knowing the likely implications of the same. And now that you're facing this trade restrictions, the challenges there, and that is why I think it becomes extremely important that we have a discussion around that, so that we can find a way around this trade restrictions that we today face, what we know as CBAM. But yeah, I mean, so that clearly makes you a veteran. 2020, that you put out your first paper on CBAM, and since then you've been working within the space and especially focusing on the steel sector. And you also mentioned that Ukraine did export around 23 million tons of steel.
No, no, produced 23, but exported to Europe 7
Seven. Okay.
before.
Okay. So
Before
so
last year, our export was only 2 million ton.
oh,
Because
that's
of war, yeah, because of war, we reduced, and production was 7 million.
right, right. But that is somewhere around, I mean, 7 tons out of 23. It's roughly around 25% of the entire production that is being exported to Europe. And since then, you're clearly saying it has dropped. I mean, which makes it even more important to consider CBAM and the impacts of the same. Let's have a follow-up question to that. And the company that you started, the GMK Center, is based out of Ukraine. And Ukraine's steel sector is obviously under a lot of pressure, both from CBAM and from the war, of course. So you went from a team of 25 to 16, yet now you increasingly focus your attention on the India's steel industry. Why? What do you see in India that's strategically different from Ukraine or Europe?
Yeah, first, of course, India is only one growing market for
Hmm.
steel consumption. And of course, it's different from Ukraine and Europe and the whole global world. But Ukraine has always been the world's largest exporter of steel, ore, ferroalloys, pig iron, semi-finished products. We produced, as I told, 23 million tons of steel before the war and exported to many countries. Our GMK Center expertise covers the entire steel sector chain, and the steel sector is global. It's not like only regional level. Yeah, it's global market. And we initially focused on Ukraine, Europe, and the former Soviet Union country. Now our core competence is the European steel market, and Indian steel market is of our interest, very interesting to us as a part of global market. India is only growing steel market. India is expanding its production capacity.
Right.
India is a major exporter of steel to EU market. For example, early January, first 2 week of January this year, India exported 220,000 of ton of HRC to Europe.
Mhm.
So therefore, we closely monitor Indian steel market and key players because it affects not only European but also global steel industry and global steel market.
Right, right. So, is it just because of the volume that makes India that much more important?
Volume consumption
Right.
because in production grows, yeah, in
Mhm.
capacity, consumption in raw materials. Through this consumption of raw materials, India affect raw material prices like
Right.
coking coal, iron ore, ferroalloys, and so on. Scrap also because India became big consumer of scrap, and also exporter because we see that in time when like last 3 months is Indian steel market is weak. So India start to export more. It's normal. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that work trade, global trade. Yeah, you have problem in your local market, you export more. You have problem in export market, you
For the
produce
domestic
for local
consumption.
market. Yeah, so that's why India start last 2 3 years affect a lot on global steel market. Why? Also because Chinese steel market stagnate as a
Mm-hmm.
in consumption and also reduce capacity. So in such agenda, in such situation, any movements on Indian steel market became more, I would say, acceptable for global steel market.
Absolutely. I mean, I think when the Chinese market slows down, there is a lot of dumping that happens in the Indian market. As a result, the local consumption could also drop, which makes it necessary for the increased exporting options there. Would that be a fair analogy or a logic to say?
Yeah, can be. We can say like that. If its surrounding situation is very quiet, but
Mm-hmm.
only one country that have movement and progress impacted more on global situation. Yeah,
Right.
so we're talking about India. It's growing market, developing economy, growing capacity, many movement, many import, many export, many production. So that's why in a very still lake, you see this movement. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's try putting some numbers around this conversation, Stanislav. So, I mean, clearly, when we talk about climate change, there are certain sectors which are extremely energy intensive, which makes them carbon intensive, and steel being one of them, right? So, let's take some numbers. So, let's put a number on this. India's steel has emission intensity of around 2.5 tons of CO2 per ton of steel that is produced, and the EU's benchmark presently is at 1.28 tons or kg CO2. That's around 96% gap. At the same time, India exports roughly 6.9 million tons of steel per year out of 152 million tons produced, which has an exposure of around only 4.5% to CBAM directly as we speak. So, given these constraints, how serious is CBAM's threat to Indian steelmakers? And is the hype is it hype, or is it a genuine existential challenge that India is today facing?
Look, India's steel sector faces a real challenge under CBAM,
Mhm.
directly and indirectly. Carbon intensity of Indian steel producers is high. It's normal because India only start to develop steel industry. Be honest, modern steel industry is very young in
Right.
India. Yeah. Uh, of course, India steel industry existed 3 and 4 thousand years ago, but it was from another steel industry. Yeah, and this makes Indian export vulnerable as cleaner producers, cleaner like with less carbon intensive,
Hmm.
could displace them from European market and from other market. Also, direct CBAM exposure is limited. Use share in Indian export is not so big, minor. Current EU steel prices are also favorable for Indian producers.
Hmm.
Even with CBAM costs, India can continue exporting steel now to European Union.
Hmm.
In fact, situation depend on growth rates of steel prices in European Union. This growth should be enough to offset all CBAM charges and payments.
Hmm.
In the long term, this model isn't sustainable from my point of view. Relying on favorable prices gaps is risky, and without decarbonization, without movement of to green steel transformation, India's steel industry may struggle to compete. EU buyers will shift to low carbon sources, and India will lose European market. Perhaps for India's growing steel consumption market, EU volumes are not of very interesting, not very interesting.
Right.
But this is a matter of company strategy. The
Hmm.
Indian steel market has been struggling for the past 3 months, and so we saw increase of Indian export to European Union since November. This is because steel producers didn't want to lose money or reduce their capacity in India. And EU market is very marginal. If you have possibility to export, I don't know, 10,000 ton of steel with 2 times more marginality than in India, so you will do it. Every producer is interested to working on. Like every producer is interested to working in USA market because it's marginal. So you cannot avoid it. So if you're talking about volume or prospects of growing consumption, probably European market not a big, not very interesting. But it's if you are talking about volume. But if you are talking about profit, about marginality, if you are not on European market, you lose your competitive position. So in any case, be honestly, so it's not only about Europe, it's not only about USA. Uh, Last week we published Green Steel Outlook
Mm-hmm.
country per country, and we looked at all country in different with different roadmaps, with different progress,
Mm-hmm.
realizing green steel transformation strategies.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, all markets will be greener. So you need to be prepared that all markets will be greener and will be such requirements,
Mm-hmm.
not only Europe. So that's why for Indian steel producers, it's real challenge, and we see that Indian companies understanding this challenge and already setting targets and trying to do something and trying to look on this. But in any case, you can not avoid this situation because you will lose profit and marginality.
So just losing out on the European market would clearly, lose us on the marginality because there is more margins that the Indian steelmakers can get while accessing the European markets. But Stanislav, just out of curiosity, is the trend of producing green steel becoming a trend across the globe, or did you find this in certain pockets of the geography?
Yeah, it's interesting question. First of all, there is no definition of green steel. Yeah. Second, look like that. Uh, my personal opinion, very subjective,
Hmm.
that we need to talk not only about emission, but first of all about pollution.
Right.
Ukraine was always industrial country, and
Hmm.
our city was very concentrated with industry, and
Hmm.
every people and health of people was affected of pollution. We know that China stopped steel production and some industry during winter, when without wind it's impossible to breathe in big cities. Yeah,
Right.
it's the same in India, I'm sure. Yeah, so in industrial region it's a problem. So we understand that people need in big city, in industrial country, in developing country, people need more healthy production, less pollution,
Hmm.
less emission. From my point of view, pollution are more important because it directly affect on health of people. Yeah, and that's why you need new technology. And this movement to new technology to produce energy, steel, fertilizers, cement, aluminium, and other energy intensive and industry intensive products,
Hmm.
pharmaceutical, uh, new technological way with less pollution and less emission,
Right.
it's a real need for new technology era. For me, for example, new technological era, it's not movement to AI.
Hmm.
AI, it's not technological thing, it's only support. Digitalization only support existing technology. Yeah, it's movement to real new technology to produce more circular economy using less raw materials. Yeah, more less pollution, new technologies that use less energy, more energy efficient, and so on. So, from my point of view, this movement it's not only about we want to be green because it's popular, because we look at Discovery Channel and people say that oh we will planet die because of CO2 emission. No, because people need to live in clean places.
Yeah.
People don't need that industry will affect negatively their health. But that's why we need this new technological order. That's why we need new technology, not only about climate change. You can believe or not believe to climate change, doesn't matter. It's first of all about people, about health, about competitiveness also.
Yeah, yeah. I agree on that point that you've made, because when we talk about sustainability, it is extremely crucial that we do not overlook the other problem areas such as air
Yeah,
pollution.
Russian, look, sustainability, if you look also sustainability goals,
Hmm.
less CO2 emission is only one from them.
Absolutely.
Water consumption, it's also about new technology. For example, in Ukraine, we have one steel plant, EAF steel plant,
Hmm.
Interpipe producer, that invested in water consumption like that they don't use water right now. Their model is 95 or 93% use
Okay.
only circular water to produce 1 million or 1.5 million ton of steel per year. So
Hmm.
it's a new technology. It's a more sustainable, more circular. So it's many different goals in sustainability. So we need to look at them, not only CO2 emission, but in any case, green steel technology all lead to this. If you use, even with BF technology, blast furnace, you can use more scrap,
Hmm.
not only iron ore and coke. So you use more scrap, you need less coke and coal,
Virgin.
less iron ore. Yeah, you can collect gas with different equipment and less pollution, less CO2 emission. Use this gas for heating for another production process. You can use slag after BF both to reconstruct roads, to build new roads in your city. So you can use carbon capture and utilization, yeah, to collect this, to rework it, and so on. So even with existing old technology, you can do it. You can shift to AF technology. You can shift to AF DRI technology. You can. It's many technologies that you can use right now, not only based on hydrogen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So and it's not no need to big investment. You can use biochar, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and of course it cannot remove fully coke and coal,
Right.
but if you use 5 or 10% in your mix, already reduce CO2 emission.
Hmm.
Uh, so and using of coke and coal. So it's a, from my point of view, it's a big movement, and it's not only based on this idea of save the planet or climate change and so on. It's based on new technological order and sustainability as a very, how to say, big goal. The sustainability mean development,
Hmm.
efficiency,
Hmm.
and different goals. How to build your development of your economy
Yeah.
based on new principles.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I strongly resonate with that point there, because I mean, when we talk about the green steel, it is highly important that we not just talk about the carbon emissions. There are other impact areas like water, maybe pollutants to the air, the consumption rate, everything, how it affects the people around. So all of that areas are significantly important. But again, let me get back to the same question. Do you see this trend of companies or organizations or industries taking into more decarbonized way of producing steel across the globe, or are they seen in pockets?
We see progress.
Mm-hmm.
Last 5 year was announced many different projects.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but right now, many technology existing, as I told. You
Right.
can already use it if you want, if you have investment, if you see competitive advantages in it. And from my point of view, it's a global trend.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can refuse it. So of course, it's going not so uh, quickly, not so fast as people expected.
Right.
It's because it's engineering, it's investment.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot, okay, if you have 10 billion euro, but in one day you cannot replace one old steel plant with a new steel plant one.
Absolutely.
You need 10 years minimum. Yeah, you need to make project feasibility, build technology, building process, starting process. So it's a long-term story.
Right.
It cannot be. It's not like digital world. You make 1 million posts in Twitter or I don't know in other social media, and then reality changes. No.
Right.
So engineering production it's long cycle. We need 20, 25 years starting change.
Hmm.
Only starting change. If you look how steel industry developed last 100 years, it's only three technological order was
Hmm.
OAF, yeah, Bessemer, OAF, BF, and EAF. EAF technology exists more than 50 years, but it's not so many percentage in global steel production. Yeah, it's
Right.
only it's still movement. It's still movement to this technology. The same
Right.
with new technology. So it's not so. So from my point of view, we will. It's not about green steel volumes.
Hmm.
It's more to cleaner or less carbon intensive
Intensive.
production of 1.5 billion ton of steel globally.
Right.
So it's about that. So if you will see figures that in 5 years, 1 billion of ton of steel will be, or 1.5 billion ton will produced with 10% less carbon intensity globally, it's
Hmm.
already success.
Absolutely, absolutely. And given that we are moving to 2050 to reach the net zero targets, at least Europe is. I mean, India has planned for 2070, but yeah, I mean, there is
Look,
a still.
sorry, Roshan, sorry. I don't like these targets.
Hmm.
All these targets, I understand why people do it because they need to see something. Oh, we go to this goal. Yeah.
Right.
But look, it's like goal. We will build communism in 50 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's the same. Or we will build paradise on Earth in 100 years. No. So it's zero. It's just how to say publicity.
Hmm.
Uh, we need sustainable production, circular production, less polluted, less carbon intensive. But to set such goals, it's marketing pure.
Yeah. I mean, there would be different point of opinions or point of views on that very now that it just now touched upon, because it is a very sort of controversial discussions to have today given the political race that is out there. Having these targets, is it just the greenwashing that is happening, or is are the
It's a
countries in.
greenwashing.
Yeah.
All Paris Agreement targets. You see Paris Agreement targets. All these conferences that we have COP every year. Yeah, they just discussing targets, just setting new targets, but targets without investments, it's nothing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we have seen in Europe. Europe was really successful. If you look last 20 years, its industry growth
Hmm.
but less carbon intensive industry growth. So why? Because investment was done to green energy, to
Right.
renewable energy. Yeah.
Right.
So it's really work to discuss green transition without discussion of investment in renewable energy impossible or
Right.
energy efficiency or second big investment targeted energy efficiency, yeah, so energy consumption. So it's also the same point of view. So you can look just short, you can it's impossible to decarbonize steel production or cement production or other production without decarbonization in energy sector. That's all.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these are clearly sectors which are extremely energy intensive, which means they have high dependence on energy production. And then given I mean, at least in India that we are seeing today that there is a large push to switch to renewables, and there is investment made in that direction. And very, very clearly we see new installations that are only the capacity is being built. But again, let me come back to the central point of discussion for today, the CBAM. So, uh, based on what you just told me, Stanislav, there needs to be a market incentive for industries to be working in this direction, because there is a cost or a capital attached to decarbonization, right? And this is one way that the European Union has come up with CBAM, which is carbon border adjustment mechanism. So to our listeners, could you simply explain how this entire system works, meaning the fundamentals of it, where what is CBAM, how it is coming into play, maybe a brief history on that, and also how is it going to impact. Let's not focus on all seven categories or seven industries. Let's just focus on the steel sector.
How CBAM will work, yeah?
Yeah. How CBAM will be working.
Uh,
Long
so
story.
yeah, it's look, it's such question, yeah. So that you for to answer this question, I will need minimum 10 hours, yeah. So look, it's very to be easy. Each new tax that you will pay if you are importer. So first of all, you need to understand that it's importer pay. So CBAM declarant, it's importer in Europe that will pay this carbon tax because this importer or buyer decided to import out from third country outside EU. So of course you can how it's calculated, its formula is very easy. It's based on your uh, emission. You look on emission in European Union for benchmark emission, your emission, and then it's multiplied by ETS price. So it's but devil is in details, of course, because right now it's we discussing that Europe say that if you cannot use your actual emission data, you will use default emission, and
Right.
default emission are very high. And why it's done? Because Europe try to push everyone to calculate emission the same way that Europe does. So MRV system, such name, monitoring and verification system. So of course, right now CBAM work as a technical barrier
Right.
because many traders, many buyers, many importers in European Union, they stopped they import because they don't know how to work with CBAM. They are not ready. So we need to understand that even European companies
Mm-hmm.
right now, CBAM already work 23 days, but they don't know how to work with.
Yeah.
Because European economy is based on import. European import many raw materials, many products, many spare parts, everything. Yeah. So that's why also European Commission have made stop or a waiver, yeah, or you can call it like you want for small and medium company that import products with intensity less than 50 ton of CO2. Yeah. So because amount of CBAM report will be very high,
Right.
and small company are not ready to European small and medium enterprises are not ready to prepare reports to work with and so on. Yeah. So it's a big problem because CBAM calculation, CBAM reporting, CBAM verification, emission verification, it's expensive thing.
Right.
So, and of course, big players that work on long-term strategy, they have enough competence, they have CO2 emission departments, verification departments, they can buy also competence on the market from big verificators. They, of course, look right now more competitive in this way because of CBAM. So, because to operate in CBAM, in supply chain, including CBAM, it's more expensive than without. So, and it's also was, Roshan, you need to understand, one of the goal for European Commission. They create such technical, why I call CBAM technical barrier. They create this technical barrier, and Okay, you are a trader or buyer and you see, it's expensive. I cannot understand how to work. It's risky for me. Okay, I will rebuild my supply chain
Mm-hmm.
based on only European producers, only European players, only European participants.
Yeah.
So main goal of CBAM, one more time, was to stop import or to get profit if from import, because CBAM payment, CBAM incomes will go to European budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it's look like, so it's protect classic protective measure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that protect European market, that give more marginality to European producers, and first of all for big players.
Right. I mean, this again comes back to the ongoing trend that is seen globally. You know, the nationality, the nationalism that is, you know, building up, getting the production of the supply chains back within the country
Yeah,
boundary.
it's second global trend. We have one global trend, decarbonization, and
Hmm.
second global trend that we have last 10 years, and will be next 20 years. It's deglobalization.
Right.
Uh, we call it not nationalism, we call it deglobalization. It was big globalization,
Yeah.
and right now
It's
it's
the reverse of it.
like reaction. It's like, it's go deglobalization. Yeah, and it's a signal for deglobalization. It's growing protectionism
Right.
and growing industrial policies and trade policies that will more and more protect markets. Not because of Trump, not because of European Commission.
Yeah.
It's a global trend. We see it also in India. India try to find also market balance, introduce import measures, export tariffs. So try to find balance to protect, to support industry, protect market, and also to support import supply chain.
Absolutely. I mean, it's today's reality, perhaps, that we are living in this new world
Yeah,
where
yeah.
where.
But coming back to your question about how CBAM it work, a real shift will come in 2027.
Mhm.
In 2026, Indian steelmakers will keep doing what they did in 2025. CBAM certificates won't even be available for purchase until February 2027.
Right.
In 2027, exporters will need to find accredited verifiers to certify their emission reported for 2026 shipments. But the verification window is tight, just about 9 months.
Hmm.
It's not so many. But
Months.
you need to understand that every ton of export to European Union in 2026 already under financial burden, but you will pay in 2027. I
Right.
don't know it's good. I don't know it's good or bad. Some
Yeah.
market players telling talking to me and say, Stanislav, it will better if we will pay from first day, because we will understand our trade, our production is marginal or not,
Hmm.
successful or not. But right now we will need to wait 1 year to understand we will successful or not, we will
Yeah.
risk or not. So company right now will need to hedge their risks in CBAM trade.
Right. So let's dive a little deeper in this very CBAM regulatory requirements. As you mentioned, from Feb 2027, the purchase of CBAM certificates becomes mandatory, where then the nuances will come to effect, where everything is going to be priced, right? So my question there is the necessity for accredited verifiers, right? Now the I mean we have a client here in India who are aluminum manufacturers, and they're exporting certain commodities to importer based out of Denmark. Now the company is asking for numbers here. That is, what are your carbon emissions per ton of aluminum produced? And I'm pretty sure this is the same for the steel manufacturers as well. Now, my question is this: who does the assessment, and who gets it verified, and who is to bear the burden or the cost of the entire exercise? Is it the exporters or the importers based out of Europe?
It's depend. Look, it's depend how you will organize your supply chain. Yeah. So Three main points. First of all, accredited verifiers, it's very important. But you cannot push and give all problems on verifiers. We will wait till verifiers and then we will start. No,
Mm-hmm.
you need to calculate your real data right now and right there.
Mm-hmm.
You need to, methodology is clear. It's the same like ETS methodology, CBAM. We had 2 years to prepare CBAM reporting and send it was testing period to European Commission.
Mm-hmm.
I know that many companies, many big exporters have done it. And they send CBAM reports to European Commission to and to understand how work system. Yeah, they optimize methodology. They look that it will be the same methodology. So it was enough time for preparing. First of all, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose this time, you need to do it right now. So in any case, it's like new regulation for accounting, for example. Yeah. So okay, before you calculated your financial flow right now, you need to calculate also your CO2 emission and your scope one, scope two, scope three. Yeah. It's just another type of paperwork. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah. First of all, so you don't need to wait verifiers. If you want to, in any case, or you are direct exporter on DDP base, or you are just selling from your door and buyer will ask you, send me please report. Yeah. You need to prepare these figures. Yeah. Uh, responsibility will be on your side, on production, on producer side.
Right.
And in any case, and as I told you, it's not only because of Europe. You will need it in any case. You will need it because CBAM will start to work in many countries.
Mm.
So that's why just look at not on like an European game. Just you need to look at like new reality. You
Right.
don't discuss if outside is rain. You don't discuss it's good or bad. Yeah, you just need to have umbrella to
Umbrella.
go outside. It's the
Absolutely.
same.
Yeah.
It's the same. See, you can discuss CBAM fair or unfair, good or bad, work correctly or not, but you just need to calculate your emission to prepare a report and to build with your partners in supply chain such a relationship that will allow you and also to your partner to be profitable, to be competitive with these new rules.
Right. Uh, thank you for the clear messaging there because I mean CBAM is a new reality. You like it or hate it, it's going to be there. So it's only smart to start accounting for your carbon emissions now. Then it's far too late. And also the other message that you subtly gave out there is the cost of decarbonization is only going to go up in the coming years. So it would be smarter to begin now and not wait for till it's too late. Let's come back to the again the question around the CBAM expenses. But
Yep.
one clear point that you just gave out is the necessity of data, right? So far, at least here in India, the big companies are definitely doing it. One major or the biggest struggle or the challenge we as consultants face is lack of data because this was something that was never needed before for companies to monitor, and now when their clients are asking for these numbers, it suddenly becomes extremely challenging to track the entire supply chain, find numbers, jot down numbers, and keep track of the numbers. So having data is extremely crucial. And for those of them listening to this podcast, I think that's a very clear message that you start with your accounting. At least begin with the scope one and scope two, and gradually increase on your scope three emission calculations, which will take a few years. It is not a, I mean, as you rightly said, it is not something that you achieve like that. It takes a few years of time for that kind of thing to be built up. Right, Stanislav. Let's move to the next question. So the price of CBAM certificate is tied to the EU ETS, which is the emission trading scheme. In 2025, we saw those prices swing between roughly 60 euros to 82 euros per ton of CO2. Uh, and for 2026 imports, the price is locked based on quarterly averages. But starting in 2027, it's weekly prices that they are accounting for. So what does that volatility mean for Indian steel maker trying to budget their export costs, and can they predict what will they owe? Because usually uh, the consignments are fixed a few months early, right?
Yeah.
So
Volatility in UETS prices makes cost planning difficult.
mhm,
Before, volatility was not so big, but we start in CBAM. We see already right now it's 95 euro per ton of
mhm,
CO2. And we see that volatility will be bigger. Also, you need to understand that ETS price in Europe depend on many uh, depend on many factors, and for example, gas price on global market, LNG price on global market.
mhm.
So, and that's why it's a really challenge for all market players. If Indian steel makers, for example, sell on GDP terms, they will need to buy the certificates themselves.
Okay,
If exports are on other terms, buyers will demand discount to cover the CBAM.
right,
In both cases, 30-40% movement in prices could seriously affect margins.
right.
Indian exporters will need to explore hedging tools.
Mhm,
Not only Indian, but everybody.
right.
Without them, working with Europe will become a gamble in casino.
Yeah,
So you need to understand also that EU ETS market is financial market. It's like classic financial market, yeah. And
right.
also financial players can take a part. And many factors that impact it, and that's why you need. So if for you export to Europe is important,
Mhm.
you need to hedge your risks, or you need to invest in your own big CBAM and CO2 competence inside your company. It can afford only big players.
Absolutely. So you did mention of the hedging options. I mean, what are the hedging options that the Indian steelmakers can consider?
Look, I don't want to go deeper in this,
Mhm,
so I
mhm.
can. There is some companies on the market that propose such service. So uh, in any case, you can ask such company. One of them, for example, I can call because I respect their competence. It's Red Show Advisors.
Yeah, we are actually talking to Dan sometime.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Dan, from my point of view, it's one of the best CBAM expert.
Mhm.
And for example, there is many players, but I know that this company already successfully work with hedging risk more than 1 year.
Right.
So and help to partners to reduce their costs during trade. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that you do not want to dwell deeper into that very part of hedging, but the
Yeah, it's
problem.
it's it's not my business. You
Yeah, yeah, I
understand,
understand.
sir.
I understand that since it is not your expertise, and definitely this is something that I intend to discuss much more deeply with Dan. Uh,
Yeah,
so
okay.
uh, I mean the problem that today the steel makers face is, of course, one, the lack of data and the necessity for it to be accounted, which is something that their clients in Europe are seeking for. The other question that is now arising is on the carbon pricing, right? How this entire carbon pricing works. I mean, at least in the European Union, it has matured. I mean, I wouldn't say matured, but it has seen a certain trajectory. It has seen its ups and downs, and now there is some price realization that has happened. Now the Indian, since there is an FTA, the free trade agreement that is on the cards now. the discussion is also about India coming up with its own internal carbon pricing. So what would your take be on that?
I'm a little bit skeptical
Mm-hmm.
with that. So we see. Look, let's look. I will answer like that. Uh, some experts using CBAM on governmental level in different countries, in India, in Ukraine, to say, okay, we need to introduce inside our country ETS market,
Mm-hmm.
make carbon price higher, and then it will be minused for CBAM export,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be good for exporter.
Right.
Uh, First of all, I'm not sure that it will work like that, because this regulation right now still not working. You need time to look at it. Second, let's look on case with UK. They have ETS market.
Mm-hmm.
They will introduce their own CBAM,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not integrated with European.
Right.
And we see already that it's discussion that UK producers that export to Europe
Mm-hmm.
will have a problem because they will pay twice.
Yeah.
So I'm not, as I told you, CBAM, it's very experimental mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure that this regulation will work in such way that people expect.
Right. Right.
I will answer like that. So it's not a magic pillar.
Mm.
In any case, any country will need to develop, any industrial country, their own ETS market
Absolutely.
or another art of carbon tax regulation.
Right.
For example, USA work without any ETS market, but successfully.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible, yeah. And they have green development in renewable energy, and they have green steel industry that produce more greener than European. Yeah, in Europe, more than 20 years work EU ETS system, but USA steel industry greener than European. Answer: it's very easy. Investment policy. So if you can choose another way, you can support investment in new technology,
Mm-hmm.
investment in renewable energy, and you will not need EU ETS market. So that's why I will not recommend to pray for EU ETS, for ETS market or carbon tax as for God. No.
Mm-hmm.
And from my point of view, this it's not directly about our discussion, but it's like my personal opinion. This idea that regulation and carbon taxes can stimulate producers to invest, not fully correct
Mm-hmm.
or fully stupid. Why? Why? Because if you are investor yourself, Roshan, and you will you have 1 billion and you want to build steel plant
Mm-hmm.
that will produce 1 million ton of YAF steel, for example, or bear as you want, 500,000. And you will look on country where you will invest or situation. You will look first on consumption and governmental policy that support consumption in construction, in machinery, in automotive. If you'll growth or not, you will look on investment policy,
Mm-hmm.
government and market support your investment, financial market support. Yeah, okay. You will look on regulatory policy, allowances, how quick, how easy, and so on. So, and not carbon taxes will stimulate you to invest,
Yeah.
but ROI, return on investment. Yeah. So consumption, investment, price for money, and so on. So that's why. Let's be honest, these administrative tools not supporting investment.
Yeah.
Taxes, you can open any economic books. Taxes and regulation can not support investment.
Yeah, yeah. I
The
I
same
get your point.
the
I
same example, US, you can compare USA steel industry and European steel industry.
mm-hmm,
Last 20 years, USA steel industry invested a lot.
mm-hmm.
And right now they are green, effective, they produce flat steel from scrap, everything okay. European steel industry was under UETS, under carbon tax, under many regulation, best available technology regulation, many other regulation, and so on, and not investing last 20 years. So right now they have a problem. And right now they need state support. And we have seen that last 2 years, European Commission accepted more than 15 billion euro subsidies for decarbonization of steel plants, but it's also not helping enough and not support progress of decarbonization in Europe
So
because they
so
lose time.
I mean, since clearly investment is a problem here for
Yeah,
the entire thing that we're discussing now.
that's why India have a good prospects because they have growing consumption in steel industry,
Mm-hmm.
growing economy, and just need clear long-term rules for investors, for market players
Yeah,
that will support investment. And and I think it's a good chance for Indian steel industry not only.
I agree. I agree. See, there is a dichotomy here because the investing class seeks for more stability and less volatility, right? And given with the CBAM and all this carbon pricing, the markets there is so much of volatility there, which makes it extremely difficult decision for the investment class to be making. So, what would your suggestion be? I mean, if you were a policymaker coming up with certain policy for the Indian context, what would your suggestions be? Give me two suggestions that you would make a recommendation
For whom
for the Indian
recommendation?
for the Indian system.
Uh, I work in consulting business 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's normal that for all recommendations and advising, somebody need to pay. Uh, okay. You see, right now, what I can only comment that what I see right now in Indian steel market, it's a very challenging time.
Mm-hmm.
Many export policies, restrictions, and so on. Many import policies, restrictions, quotas, and so on. Different projects. Some companies investing in very big capacity, like Arcelor, Tata, Jindal, and so on, with existing technology. Some company or the same parallel in the same time investing in new technology. Exist many small and medium company that working without, how to say, any clear technology or any clear emissions and any understanding so how it's work. So it's really such time of very challenging time. Yeah, and I see also that in India only one country globally that
Mm-hmm.
have Ministry of Steel.
Yeah.
And why? Because you
It's big
try to regulate this
industry.
chaos, this movement, this development. So of course, market need some regulation, but not like uh, restriction, more like supporting and rules for this game. Because if you play not football, croquet, yeah, and all players play with their own rules, it's not working. You need the
Absolutely.
same rules for all players, yeah.
Yeah, there has to be certain
So
rules for the game.
yeah, so you need the same rules. So that's why what I think that market players need not restrictions,
Mm-hmm.
not regulation, but clear long-term rules.
Okay, so that would be your suggestion, having clear policies and rules so that everybody understands that.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let me get to the next question, which is a little rather technical, uh, around the CBAM. So my question to you is this: now that CBAM measures embedded emissions, direct emissions from steel production plus indirect emissions from electricity that were purchased. But here's where it gets complicated. A steel maker can report either actual data from their facility or default values from the EU Commission. For India, what does it mean in practice? Is actual data reporting better or worse for Indian steelmakers than default? And what's the compliance burden of this?
Yeah, very good question and very concrete answer. For Indian steelmakers,
Mm-hmm.
using default emission values is very bad idea.
Right.
The system pushes producers to report actual emissions.
Mm-hmm.
What I have seen for India default values are, I would say correctly, not normal and too high.
Right.
Actual data, actual data must be independently verified. The first verification, as I told, requires on-site visit from accredited EU verifier. That means extra time, extra cost, and extra coordination. It's especially tricky for small or remote facilities.
Right.
So that's why I told before, you need to do it yourself right now.
But the cost of this, EU accredited verifiers, and this is where the challenge begins. That since there are very few. Uh,
Right now, very few, but look, accredited verifiers accreditation will start, I think, from July till September of this year
mhm.
only. So we don't know how many players will be on the market, but of course, as on all growing market or starting procedure, it will be at start a little bit expensive as always.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I think that's where all this challenge is now beginning to kind of take play, because for the smaller players, it's a burden. I mean, they're seeing it as a cost point.
Yeah, but look, European Commission prepares such, how to say, uh, possibility. You need to buy only 50% of certificates on default values for a whole year minimum,
Hmm.
and then you can recalculate it based on uh, actual data. Yeah,
Hmm.
but as I told you, you will have only 9 months for this.
Yeah, yeah, but you give me a very clear answer. Um, Avoid default values, rather actual values. That's where the entire system is headed, and that would be your suggestion for the Indian steelmakers as well.
Yeah, because to work with default values is very, very expensive. For
Right.
India steel producers, default values are very high.
Hi. Great. Okay. Given the lack of time that we have around 15 minutes left. I'll jump to the next part of the conversation, which is around the economics and the SME vulnerability crisis. I think we touched upon this point somewhere, where the big players are decently placed and they're capable of absorbing the costs, while the smaller players find it extremely challenging and difficult to navigate this entire CBAM requirement and the compliance requirements there. So let's talk money, Stanislav. So, the Indian Credit Rating Agency did a study on CBAM impact, and they estimate the CBAM cost will cost Indian steelmakers roughly 55 to 65 USD per million metric ton per metric ton between 2026 to 2029, and by 2034 this would rise to roughly 55 USD to 145 USD per metric ton. For context, India's domestic steel prices are around 650 euros to 700 euros per metric ton. So we were talking about a margin of 9 to 22% hit. So how real is that number? And is the Indian credit rating agency being conservative or an alarmist?
Uh, Roshan, from one point of view, it's not fully correct to comment calculation of another people
Okay,
because I don't know how they calculate it,
the
but I
methodology.
can methodology or which basis they took, but I can comment. I have calculation for India, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So from my, if I will compare my calculation and ICRA. So I can say that ICRA calculation are actually low. It's my estimates.
Okay.
Based on my calculation, on GMK Center calculation, the real CBAM impact for Indian steel could range from 117 euro to 255 euro per ton
Wow.
between 2026 and 2030. So it will go up from 20 every year. Yeah. So in 2026 it can be around 117. In 2030 it can be already 255. So more than double
The present
estimates
price.
that you told me.
Okay.
This means Indian exporters need to prepare for much steeper costs than expected, especially after 2029, when CBAM ramps up sharply.
Mm.
You need to
Okay.
understand that this 2026, 2027, 2028, it's like also test period.
Right.
And then from 2029, we'll start real fight.
Yeah, I mean, so clearly a conservative approach that I mean, according to your calculations there, but something that is worrying as well because it is almost double the number that I just stated, which is alarming for a lot of Indian steelmakers, given that they have to invest heavily on decarbonization if they were to stay competitive. Right. Uh, Great. Okay. So, Stanislav, let's get a little specific here. A mid-sized Indian steelmaker, say 1 million metric ton annual capacity, wants to invest in green technology. A hydrogen-based DRI EAF route is the gold standard, right? It reduces the emission by roughly 85 to 90%, this is what is told. But the capital requirement here is massive because hydrogen today costs roughly $4 to $6 per kg in India. The break-even price for this competitiveness is around 1.3 to 2 USD per kg. That's a 60 to 80% cost cap. Where does the steelmaker get the capital? Government subsidies, private equity? Is there a financing model that actually works? And you clearly mentioned earlier before, investment is where the problem lies. Now the question that I'm asking is where is this investment going to come from?
First of all, from my point of view, hydrogen-based DRI production is not gold standard
Okay.
because it's not existing right
Mm.
now. So it was also classic publicity marketing. Everybody talking, oh, hydrogen DRI technology is the best. There is no hydrogen on the market. There is no enough DRI capacity on the market. How many ton of steel produced using hydrogen DRI route? Sorry,
Mm.
zero. So we can call it gold standard probably after first 100 million ton of steel
Produced.
produced that way.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think 100 million ton of steel produced 100% hydrogen based on DRI. We can see probably in 15 years.
15 years.
Probably.
Mm.
I'm not sure if you are talking about 100% hydrogen. Because right now, hydrogen is too expensive globally, not only in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's not gold standard. Sorry. For example, existing many other technologies
Mm-hmm.
that you can use to produce less carbon intensive steel. For example, smelter technology from prime metals that will start in 2 years to produce big amount of steel and others. So people discussing also possibility to we know about some Chinese projects that can invest in R&D and use will see how to produce steel another way, less carbon intensive, but not based on only hydrogen. So that's why for me it's not a gold standard.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now I will talk about answer your questions also very clear. Even European small and medium enterprise are not ready for CBAM, as I told you before.
Mm-hmm.
That's why European Commission excluded them. Small companies simply don't have resources to verify emission, to prepare reports, also to invest in green technology. CBAM or CO2 emissions also specialists are very expensive, as I told before. So that's why it's a problem for small and medium decarbonization game. It's a game for big players.
Mm.
Small and medium enterprise, because it's about big investment. So small and medium enterprises are out of this game. Of course, there is some movement that we see right now, if we are talking about steel industry, that called mini mills.
Mini meals?
Mini mills. It's talking about small, effective technology, so that you can produce, I don't know, 50,000 ton of steel, 100 or 200,000 ton of steel per year, using fully another technology, not DRI EAF hydrogen based, not BF both, yeah. Based mostly it's EAF, different variants of EAF technology, yeah. But with less carbon emission, and it will be competitive, and it's not need why mini mills, so big investment.
Right.
You don't need 1 billion euro to build plant to produce 1 million ton of steel. So it's a new interesting movement. We see it in Nordic countries, in Sweden, Norway, Finland, but it's only starting. It was such technology before, but it was always very expensive if you will compare with mass production. Yeah, and it can be oriented only on local market and only if investment are cheap.
Right.
So that's why, from my point of view, decarbonization is not a game for small and medium enterprises. They can be part of supply chain, but not big players. But okay, what we call small and medium enterprise. Yeah. So if for India, 500,000 ton of production is small and medium, it's not for me. So I don't know, countries, for China, 5 million ton steel plant, it's probably small. Yeah. Small company. But for Ukraine and Europe, it's the bigger steel player, the biggest steel player. So as I told you, this can done simply as a game, but it shouldn't used for business unless you want to lose money. Yeah. So also you need to understand what I see also as a trend also in India. I have seen many digital platforms that calculate automatically CO2 emission or create automatically CBAM report, digital CBAM report, based on figures that you input inside. It was good for testing period 2 years ago, 1 year ago, just to understand how it's work. But I'm not sure that it's a good idea right now, because you need verification, because you need better actual data, and because this game in such digital platforms will give you wrong signals.
Right.
And you can base it's risky from my point of view, you can base your business on wrong data. And it's not a good idea. So I understand why it was before, because people need to try to look at small and medium enterprises, try to do it. But right now you need verification. So that's why every experts discussing that it will be huge growth on this verification market.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still trying to absorb all this information that you just provided me with. I mean, clearly that there are a lot of problem areas that requires real addressing. But do you think that governments need to step in to provide some subsidies for, or provide some support for medium, small scale, and organization companies to kind of meet this investment requirement?
In any case, government 2 years ago, it was every government needed to create some, from my point of view, expert centers that will support not only SMA but market with such competence,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't see it in any countries.
Mm-hmm.
Not Ukraine, not Japan, not Indonesia, not India, not China. No. But from my point of view, it would the easiest way, yeah, to create such competence centers that will help companies. But time already gone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, given that we are entering the definitive phase, I think we should have had this discussion long time back. Uh, Great. But again, I mean, I think we need to have this kind of discussions to identify the problem areas. At least this would allow for further discussions, further conversations that could help with some form of solution providing. I had a lot of questions there for you, Stanislav. I think we are reaching the end of the committed time. I will have one last question for you. Uh, and be brutally honest. So you do world class research and policy work, but there is a gap in the ecosystem. Indian steelmakers need to know where exactly are they exposed to CBAM. What is it costing them? How do they decarbonize profitably? How do they tell their sustainability story to the European buyers? And no single consultant covers all of that. And that's where Carbon Mandal company like ourselves fits in. With carbon accounting, ESG strategy, supply chain mapping, we handle the execution. So, from your vantage point, what's the single biggest gap Indian steelmakers face right now? And where could we partner with firms like GMK Center to help them navigate this?
Uh, First of all, not only Indian, but everybody have a problem because you're fully right. There is no one company or one expert that can combine all this type of expertise.
Hmm.
If you are talking about CBAM, trade policies, impact on your cost curve, your investment strategy, and so on. Second, it can be only branch based. So one discussion and one expertise in aluminium, other in steel, fully another in cement, fully another in energy market, because energy is also hydrogen energy also under CBAM, ferroalloys, fertilizers, and so on. Yeah. So it's not, you cannot be like a universal CBAM expert.
Right.
And really, it's uh, it's a problem because if you are talking about CBAM challenge, some expertise and competence that company need. It's legal and policy expertise about CBAM regulation because it changes every month will come in,
Right.
and you need to understand how it will affect your supply chain, your business, your profitability. It's one thing. Second, competence. It's a how to say custom procedure, supply chain competence, how to trade DDP, CFAR, CIF base, how to organize your procedures with your custom agent in Europe. It will be more profitable to organize your own filial in Europe to trade in, or to create something together with your buyers from Europe. It's like supply chain custom procedures, more about logistic
Yeah.
chain, yeah, about execution, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's full another expertise, CBAM execution. Third type of expertise, of course, it's CO2 calculation and CBAM reporting.
Mm-hmm.
It can be in one competence, but it can be also separately. Yeah.
Right.
So big company can make it together. Yeah. That export a lot. Some small can divide it, but okay. So it's third type of expertise. Yeah. CBAM reporting, CO2 calculation, and communication with verificators, and so on. Fourth and competence, it's market competence.
Mm-hmm.
How you are effective, how you are competitive with all this CBAM cost, market prices, ETS prices, prices for your product with CBAM. Are you competitive or not? How your market share will be with CBAM like that or not? Who will win, Indian or Japanese producers, where you are placed on cost curve with CBAM and without CBAM. So it's like still market competence, with CBAM factor. Yeah. So it's only like these four competencies that I see. It's probably more, and it's not possible to uh, combine it.
All of them.
First of all, in one expert.
Mm-hmm.
Second, in one company.
Right.
So, for example, GMK Center knows steel market very good, know European market, including cost structure, trade policies. We can calculate impact for your company. We can calculate impact for GDP for country. For example, how will CBAM costs impact on GDP? We have a very strong model of European steel market that allows us to forecast steel prices with CBAM for different countries and so on. We understand the motivation of market participants and the logic behind its operation. Well, because it's not only about costs, also about motivation, about how they will work on this market. Companies must either develop this expertise themselves or turn to advising, to consultants. Yeah. As I told you, unfortunately, there is no one consulting agency, advising company that will solve all these problems from one hand. You need many players, or you need platforms like Carbon Mandal, for example. Yeah. So it's difficult to combine and develop all of this in a single company. What I see, for example, from our customers, clients, there's a big companies
Mm-hmm.
that asking me, Stanislav, can we discuss with you calculating CBAM risks, how you see market challenge? It's the biggest market player in European steel market that asking JMK to prepare estimation, to prepare report. Even you have your own vision and expertise, CBAM strategy and cost estimation, you need somebody from market that with independent point of view
Right.
to reduce your risks. So I'm working in consulting 20 years already. So, and I understand its purpose. Main goal of consulting is to quickly provide to a company with expertise that is more expensive or impossible to get from the market right now.
Right.
So that's why a role of different platforms, of advisors, of consultants are in provide company with this expertise, because or it's too expensive to do it yourself, because you need expensive, it means time, money, yeah,
Absolutely.
concept. Yeah, you need, yeah, or it's impossible to find on the market. But it's not so many experts really in CBAM
Right.
right now. I see that, but it's funny. I see in LinkedIn in different so things that people again CBAM expert. In what? Sorry, in CBAM report preparing. Okay. In CBAM regulation and policy. Okay. In CBAM, how CBAM will affect aluminium market, because you are working 20 years in aluminium. Okay. Yeah. So in what you are expert. So it's very important to understand. Oh, in CO2 prices and CBAM price certificate. Okay. So it's always question. Yeah. You need expertise. You need specific expertise.
Right.
And of course, it's not so easy to find it. So as I told you, JMK is open. We work with governments, we work with different NGOs, we work with associations, we work with steel producers, with steel traders, with steel buyers and consumers. We have with equity funds and banks that invest in green steel projects. So we understand what market need, but as I told you, we are expert in steel, in iron and steel sector. Yeah, not in aluminum, not in cement. Of course, we know how it will impact. Of course, we understand. But you need to understand market. You need to be a market expert to work with.
Great. So my key takeaway is be a CBAM specialist rather than a CBAM journalist, meaning you need to be very specific within that niche and be an expert within that to be able to provide high value, high quality services, be it consulting or advisory. Stanislav, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I think we could not touch upon a lot of questions there, given that this is one such topic that we can go on talking about for hours together. As you clearly said, if you have to explain CBAM, it might take you 10 hours to explain the entire thing in detail. And that also allows me to request for one more session or time with you sometime in the future. Maybe we can pick
Yeah.
a second topic.
I will recommend it. I will recommend to do it in April or end
Right.
of March because we will see fully another picture
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Let's do it sometime in March or April in that case. But lots of learning, lots of interesting insight, and of course we could not discuss on the solution part as much. Of course, investment seems to be one critical area that requires much more focus for this problem to be solved. If India were to take care of its SMEs and MSMEs and not allow them to die as a result of this policy that has come in place. Uh, any parting words, Stanislav? Did you enjoy the conversation?
Yeah, thank you. It was very interesting conversation. From my point of view, only pity that, and I suffer myself, that people started to discuss it only last 3 months. And for example, my voice was in silence last 5 years. That I told to many players, it's important. It will be game changing. Many people still have hope that Euro Commission will stop CBAM.
Right.
No, what I see, European Commission will only make CBAM stricter. It's not good or bad. They will use this mechanism so much as possible to support competitiveness, marginality, to protect market inside Europe.
Yeah.
So they will develop this instrument, and every other countries will also look at it and implement their own CBAM. From GMK Center estimation till 2030, from 60 till 80 million ton of global steel trade will be already under CBAM.
Hmm.
So minimum 10 countries will implement something like that.
Right.
So that's why it's not about Europe. It's not about bad climate agenda. It's not about only green steel transition. It's simply new reality. And if you need to be prepared not only for Europe, but for some CBAM, UK, USA, Turkey, some other countries, and so on. So that's why I recommend not to wait that CBAM story will be just disappear, but to start hardly work on in new circumstances
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
new reality.
Absolutely. This is a new reality that all of us have to deal with, and it's only smart to start. I think we were already, if you haven't started already, you're already too late. But perhaps now it's a wake up time to start fixing the problem.
Yeah. And then, last but not least, people discussed half year ago and 1 year ago that CBAM will be only for commodities.
Mm.
And I told guys, no, it will go upstream, downstream, everywhere. And what we have seen right now, even white goods, automotive, spare parts, garden tools, everything will be under CBAM.
Yeah.
So it's a new reality, good or bad, but you need to be prepared.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for those of you who are listening in, if you'd like to reach out to Stanislav, we'll put a link to his description, link to his LinkedIn profile in the description. And you could also check their website out, GMK Center. It's up online. And for those of you who would like to reach out to Carbon Mandal, we have a website, www.carbonmandal.com. We'll drop a link in the description as well. Thank you, all of you, for listening in. It was an absolute privilege. Stanislav, we'll be in touch.